for speaking of catching, tell me what there's a lot of things I like about Endy Rodriguez behind the plate. I think the twitchiness, the receiving, I think for the most part's good. What do you not like at this point that you've seen from him?
He's too coachable.
Yeah, I mean, expand on that. Yeah.
What I mean is he falls in patterns. He tips his pitches sometimes the way he sets up, and that gets him comfortable. That's why he blocked incredibly well, but there was days where he just blocked bad. Mm-hmm. It's because he falls in patterns, and he's expecting what should happen instead of what normally happens. Is usually not exactly how you draw it up, and how to help guys find their middle on given days. Like one thing I picked up and I told the staff was during warmups, Endy did not make the ball work for the pitcher. So Quinn Priester was throwing and he had a bad inning after Endy, and then Delay went out. Delay actually, he didn't over adjust, but he moved to where Priester needed to throw the ball. Endy set up down the middle and allowed Priester to let his hand kind of fall back. Rhythm was off, and then he's leaving all of his pitches up. He's trying to throw his breaking ball. It gets destroyed. But then Delay goes out, and he has a great inning. And those little things are what matter. That's what I was, in my opinion, really good at, is I could find the little things to help them find their lane, to find their middle. Like middle is not middle for some guys. Like Ortiz, a couple times this year, his ball was cutting naturally, and he was trying to throw sinkers. And then Endy was continually doing that, and it was going down. It was going down. It was going down. And instead, they just started throwing fastballs up, and he got destroyed. And it's like, no, play the cutter. Just play it. It's there today. You can't change it. There's a mobility issue, whatever it is, just play it. And those are the things he has to learn on his own. And it may take a veteran to kind of take him under his wing, like Oviedo. Like he did some things with Oviedo I didn't like either, but come to find out, Oviedo kind of pushed that envelope a lot more than I thought. So, yeah, I think he's going to learn those things. And the next thing is he didn't hit the way he should.
Yeah.
I mean, my rookie season technically was just as good or better offensively than that's not good, right? He played every single day. He had 3 homers. He was a 25 homer guy in the minor leagues. That tells me not that the big leagues was overwhelming. It's that the catching side was dominated in his mind. And I go back to spring training when he said, yeah, I need to go to AAA. I need to get better at catching. No, you're literally one of the best hitters on our team day one in spring training. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's a different animal. I hadn't seen a guy like that in a while. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that same guy the first week in Indianapolis. I'm watching him like, this isn't the same dude. And then the movement starts getting off, and then the legs start losing, and he's trying to get back to who he was, but he's not the same player because he's not playing the same positions. So I hope it works out well, but if he learns from it and grows, I think it'll really take off, and he could be a real Muto type. But I would love to see him play more positions. I think his value's way higher that way because he's very good defensively in some other positions. I think he solves a first base issue if he hits next year.
So it's interesting. So I want to go back to the thing you said earlier, and it was about how Endy said,
you want a first baseman, don't you? You want a first baseman.
AAA.
We'll talk later about that. Okay. Let Jim talk.
Yeah, Jim, please.
I always thought it was interesting. Alex Stumpf wrote an article earlier. It was probably around in May. When the Pirates really probably could have used a catcher. Their option at the time was like the worst hitter of all time. So,
but can I ask you guys a question as fans?
Yeah.
Oh,
we literally got what we signed up for.
I didn't sign up for it.
No. And actually, none of us signed up. Yeah,
that's the thing. None of us signed up. He was actually better defensively this year than he was in the prior.
He was worse offensively than he's ever been.
What he was doing at the plate was just dreadful.
It was horrific.
Riddle me this though. Look at I bet we had the worst offensive catchers, even with Endy coming up in all of baseball. You can even count Henry Davis in there. We still had the worst offensive catchers in all of baseball.
I don't know. Jason DeLay had some pretty decent numbers there for a while.
There's some
DeLay
bad
was-
offensive.
He's going to be
guys
a
out there,
great
but-
option for us for a long time. He's the new Stallings, and I think he's a better version, to be honest. So
I guess
But
to
to go back
answer
to
that,
the-
in my perspective, though, just add in here. I think to answer that is the fact that it was a good enough signing with him understanding
wasn't.
understanding the expectations this year.
Should have never
It
happened.
was one of those where, you know what, it's good enough because Henry's going to come up and he's going to come up. They're going to dominate the catching role and he's going to take a step back, right? Those expectations changed after that April. Now this is a winning ball club.
Yep.
Henry Davis is dominating. We need to put the pedal to the floor and be a better team, and they still settled without doing anything. So I think that's really the biggest issue with that. Signing him was okay, whatever. He's going to work well. He's going to do this, but like he never did any of that stuff. Like there was never Endy and Henry up here to learn from him, which is you thought was a big part of that.
And I thought they were going to do that from April. Like when they
Right.
signed him, I was like, this is brilliant. Now Indy doesn't have to take that load, but we get his bat.
Correct.
Right? And
So
that's what I thought
that's
was
the
going to
issue.
happen. Yeah. And then it didn't. And it's like they put themselves in a huge hole, especially when Henry wasn't catching. Because even if he came up and hit, if he hit exactly like he did in the minor leagues, his defense wasn't ready. Like you're saying one thing about Indy and you're doing the opposite with Henry. Make it make sense, right? Who was a better hitter the year before? Indy. So if you think about it, like but I understand the concept, both sides, but that was hard for me to take, especially knowing what type of human being Indy was. It wasn't like Cruz. Cruz was not ready emotionally to be in the big leagues the year before. Indy was ready to be anywhere that a ball was being played. He could play dodgeball, and he was ready because he's a great, great human being, and it wasn't going to be too much for him.
Before we're in like June and this guy's hitting 100 and something, just horrific at the plate, and we have to watch him behind the plate every day. You have to understand why we are so frustrated.
And I get it. I get it. Trust me, I definitely get it. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. The fact that guys like him, and I like him, I understand his value. He's a backup catcher. Like when he signed, I jumped out of my seat and said, I need to go catch. Like this is unbelievable. $5 million.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
I was a hit first guy in the big leagues. I was a defensive first guy in the minor leagues, but I was just thinking like, this is nuts to me.
Do you know how many catcher's interferences you could have got paid for?
$1 million per.
And hey, if I don't know if he'll qualify, but he would have been really close to winning the Gold Glove in the National League.
But they won a lot more games when he wasn't on the team anymore.
Yeah, we
I
were
know,
better.
correlation does not equal.
But we were
causation.
also a better team all the way around.
Were they though? Like they went 28-8 in April.
But keep
Yes,
in
they
mind,
were-
Hedges was on the IL during a lot of that.
Well,
And I'll say this, like DeLay in spring training showed how good he was.
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I think DeLay is about the optimal backup catcher you can ask for.
He's
Yep.
going to be a hybrid, right? So he's going to be playing in the 7th inning. He's going to be doing some different things because I really want to see Henry catch.
So let's get to that because you talked about
Jimothy.
Endy, and I love the Real Muto comp too in that sense. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be JT Real Muto, but just the athleticism and stuff like that. And obviously, Real Muto played second base also. But like, I think to get that part of Endy, what you're saying is you have to have Henry Davis as a catcher. Like that's why that tandem is so valuable. Endy can play multiple positions and be your pseudo backup catcher. Or like we talked about, your backup catcher could eventually be like a 4-WAR player, and your starting catcher is a 4-WAR player. You know,
It could be a better version of Atlanta. Think about that.
right?
Because they're both more
But-
athletic than both those guys.
But that would mean Henry Davis has to catch. What's the deal? I don't
know.
understand why he wasn't catching, and especially when Charrington came out and said, like, once this trade happens, it's not like an every day, but Henry Davis will catch, and he never did, not once the rest of the year outside that, like that one inning or whatever, you know. But now we go in this offseason, and it's told, okay, he's gonna be a catcher, so he'll work on that. I don't know. You said you
Like,
don't know,
what's-
but if you
yeah,
can
like, what's
expand,
happening?
No,
what are we doing here?
I can
And-
expand on
Yeah.
the thing is like he's light years behind now. If what they said about Indy has any relevance, which in my opinion, it's always an ebb and flow. If he comes into spring training and he rakes, he's going to be the backup catcher. He's going to play right field. He's going to DH. He may even play some first base. But I think the more versatility he has, the better for the team because you need to rotate those guys out when they're not playing well. Right. I think Triolo needs to be in there as often as possible, moving around, giving guys opportunities. And he will probably win a gold glove with Key Bryant next year as a utility guy. I didn't know there was a utility gold glove, believe it or not. Never really paid attention to those awards except the main winners, but he will win a utility gold glove. And I think if he was on a different team, he would fight Key Bryant to be the best third baseman in all of baseball. But I think he'd be a shortstop for another team or a second baseman. So I think our team is better with the because of how young we are and how athletic we are. You know, you think about Piguero, his ability to move around, Bay's ability to move around. You don't need all of them. You need to get rid of some of them. But when you have catchers that can move around and can hit, you're talking about two guys that could possibly hit 20 homers, hit 270, 280. They both have a knack to walk. Even if Henry's okay behind the plate, that's a huge value. Let him catch Sunday. Someone's easy to figure out. Like he's a really smart dude. I just think he's stubborn, and I hope and pray I can get a hold of him. I would love to mentor him, tell him the God honest truth, and help him see that he could be as good as he wants to be because that's how stubborn he is. He's really smart when it comes to baseball, almost too smart. You know, I think next year he's going to go off hitting wise if he really does his research.
Hey, you all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.